Last time on Building the Moon House. It's well drilling day. Pretty soon down that road, we're going to see a whole bunch of equipment and people rumbling. Drilling for water at Casaluna has taken nearly every tool and process in a well driller's quiver. In theory, we will be hitting water. And I'm just waiting to see a plume of dust come out the back of this thing. Over 60 feet down, still dry, fingers crossed. We get water eventually.
Well, we're down 90 feet.
If this site turned out to be a dry hole, the cost of the overall project would skyrocket, and the Casaluna house goes right out the window. We're 160 feet down. When did I start to worry?
About 40 feet ago.
The real possibility that it might be only a few dozen more feet of chalk-dry soil before we needed to move to a new drill spot struck a real note of fear into my heart. It seemed my worst financial fears stood on the edge of a knife with no relief in sight.
So it's basically dry as a popcorn fart down to about 250.
But then we got a whisper of hope.
He just found wet earth coming out of the hole, so it's just not water yet.
The land is reluctant. Ay, ay, ay. So at 280 feet down, we started pumping a mixture of water and a foaming agent into the hole to try and force any bigger chunks of material that had collapsed in from the sidewalls and any potential water that might or might not exist there back up and out of the borehole to clear the way for the next step in the process.
That's just the water they put in. Damn it. Celebrating too early.
That's all the foam.
There's a lot of air coming out and a lot more foam coming out. A little drilling. This is not good news. Guys, I'm scared. No water. I'm dying. I'm dying.
In the middle of all this madness, I found I sometimes needed to walk away from the noise. And in those moments, I got thinking. It's strange to me how easy it is to take water for granted. Every day, we turn on a faucet, a shower, a hose, like it's nothing, without a second thought. But today, here on this dry land, I'm struck by just how fragile everything is without it. Every drop of water is a small miracle. In its absence, there's no life, no future. This project, this house, the vineyards, everything I dream of building here depends on finding water. And standing here now, I can feel in my bones just how much is at stake. I'm relying completely on the experience and dedication of every one of these dudes who are all working their butts off to make it happen for me. There's something about this particular process of seeking water underneath dry land. This feels primal. Maybe it's their deep respect for what Augie has always notably referred to as Mother Earth. Not the land, not the ground, Mother. Or maybe it's that we're looking together for that vital connection to life itself. But whatever the answer, the weight of this entire project rests not just on the ground beneath us, but on the shoulders of these men right here. We're all at the mercy of forces deep beneath the surface of our planet that are mysterious and unknowable. And so the promise of this beautiful piece of land waits. It waits to be unlocked by the moment when the earth yields and grants us its treasure. That moment when everything changes and we can invite a long-held dream to cross the threshold into reality. Water is life, and here in this place, at this moment, that life is waiting to be discovered to give birth to something new, so that everything, this house, these dreams, can finally be set in motion. Afternoon of drill day number 1, and nothing was certain. At about 300 feet down, the moisture we'd hit at 280 was a weak sign that didn't seem to be getting any stronger. And so everything came to this pivotal moment, and we had to make a hard decision. Either we pull a football field length of drill pipe out of the hole and start over in a new location, or we keep drilling and see what we find. Both options had risks. Way back when the initial agreement for drilling Casaluna was reached, the team's experience on this ridge dictated that probably a 300-foot hole was enough, with the understanding that if we don't find water and wanted to go deeper, we'd have to take the project over budget, once again with no guarantee of finding anything. We could hit a huge water deposit in 10 more feet just as easily as drill to 1,200 feet completely dry. The uncertainty was maddening. But recognizing that everything here depends on water, I decided we should drill on.
Being optimistic, we have a channel dug over here. The sludge is running downhill, but no actual water yet. I don't know what this means. What do you do? Pay more to drill more.
Very dry, right? Like heck.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. The easiest way to tell when we have water is more consistent. It comes out the discharge pipe.
Yeah.
And the clearer it gets, means that we have water. And it's a delayed reaction too. We have what's called a bottoms up time.
Bottoms up time just refers to the time it takes for water to reach the surface by way of the discharge pipe on the drill after finally breaking into a source deep below. When Augie mentioned it, I started watching carefully for that crucial consistency of flow and a clearing of the water's color. But if I'm honest, standing there with my eyes glued to the opaque brown sludge endlessly dribbling out of the discharge pipe, I felt as helpless as a bird in a windstorm. Everything I'd worked for, saved for, all the optimism, hope, and effort now seemed like it was hanging by a thread, just out of reach and completely beyond my control. All I could do now was watch and wait, hoping that we'd hit water before we hit the point of no return.
Oh my God, I'm dying. Is this actual water? I mean, maybe it is. Oh, wow. There we go. Oh my God, look at that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Wow. The sound of flowing water at Casaluna, running down the hill. Oh man, what a relief though. Oh man, oh man.
If it seems like I'm a little giddy at this point, it's because I was. The wave of relief that washed over me was huge, and it propelled my thoughts forward like a flash flood toward all the many possibilities that opened up in just this one moment. All the anxiety and doubt gone in an instant, as if Casaluna herself had finally deemed me worthy to help breathe life into this place. We hit water, and with it, we hit a turning point, where suddenly, anything seemed possible.
Look at this. This is amazing. Only measurement will tell us what the flow rate is, but that seems pretty good to me. It's actually appalling how little I know about all of this stuff. It sounds like I've got a good well here. That gives me a lot of options. It's pretty awesome. I'm stoked.
And logically, you'd think that hitting water would be the finish line. But it wasn't. First, a drill rig drills down into the earth to create a vertical hole. Then, a steel or plastic pipe, called casing, is inserted to keep the walls of the hole stable and to prevent any soil and rock from collapsing into the well.
We're looking for multiple layers of water. Ideally, in my perfect little world, I want to see 3 or 4, This top one could dry up during drought conditions or at the end of the summer. So now you're relying on numbers 2, 3, and 4. Now your neighbor here, he goes and drills a well right next door here. Now you have sources 3 and 4. If there's an earthquake and something shifts, now you have 4. So you want to hedge your bets and get as much water as you can.
And this is the choice I was now faced with. We did what we set out to do and found water, one source of water. And it's true that we could just case and cap the well here, but if we do that, we can't come back later and drill deeper into the same hole. That's a no-go. If we want to look for additional sources, we have to continue drilling this hole now, or not at all. Augie left the decision to me, but it was an easy one. In my view, peace of mind in the far-flung future is well worth the additional investment. But saying it was one thing. Actually getting it done was a whole different story.
Check this out.
As we pushed deeper into the earth, the bore kept throwing up chunks of rock and earth larger than the drill could clear with just pressurized air. So once again, we had to resort to foam injections. Minutes turned into hours, but with all that downward progress came a bigger problem. Suddenly, we were getting some bore wall collapses near the bottom, right in the water zones. Dominic told me if the drill bit got wedged under one of these collapses, we'd have to cut off about 300 feet of drill pipe tooling, leave it in the hole permanently, and start all over again from square one with a new hole. As if I didn't have enough stress already, right? It took us some time and some careful maneuvering from Jorge, our drill operator, but we finally made it down to 360 feet. And along the way, we hit the extra sources Augie wanted to see. That was a big relief knowing that we'd gotten what we needed, and for a brief moment, it felt like we could finally catch our collective breath, because the next step was dropping the bore liner in. And we had no idea this was just the start of a brand new set of challenges.
So this is the casing. And this is the liner that goes inside the hole all the way to the bottom. I think there's 520 feet here is what Augie said. Something like that anyway. But you'll notice there are two different kinds of casing here. This one is slotted, and this is where water percolates in. So this one, and this one, and this one, and then there's one more over there, are the ones that go in the hole first, because they go down to the bottom. And then most of the rest of the hole is lined with the solid ones. They have this click together mechanism, and some of them have gaskets, it looks like, and some of them do not. Down at the bottom, I'm told that they'll be mostly sealed, so on these guys. And then most of the rest of the hole will be unsealed at these joints. On the inside of that is where the water flows through, and at the bottom of the casing, inside, is the pump. So that pumps it up to the surface. That's how we get water. Augie tells me this is the most expensive casing that money can buy, and that you don't want to find out why. And what that means is it's really, really high quality, so that you really don't ever have to worry about a failure for a lifetime well. And for me, that is worth a lot. So I'd rather have really, really high quality stuff going in here, pay a little more for it, and never have to worry about my well than, you know, having other dudes putting in inferior stuff.
Watching from the outside, it seemed to me like a rather ponderous process when you have to drop something so far into the earth, one piece at a time, clicked together and lowered into the hole with all the previous sections you put in hanging beneath it. Slow and steady was the game here, but then suddenly, with 300 feet of casing already in the ground.
I don't believe it. Augie said there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is, well, there's been a development. You can see they're pulling out the casings from the borehole, and I think that is because there was a section that wasn't exactly stuck, but it just wouldn't go in the hole, sort of maybe down near the bottom of the hole is what I'm assuming. And they had to pull them and start again. Here's Augie right here.
Okay, so we drilled down.
Uh-huh.
We have a bunch of big rocks coming in, caving in on us. It goes back to like the Roman aqueducts. All it takes is 2 rocks and it can hold the world. We blessed it. We tried to over drill it by a few feet and try to get casing in. Unfortunately, the casing stopped because we have all the collapse.
So these come out today.
And we're going to go back in with a little bit bigger bit tomorrow. And the idea is that we have a bigger hole. Those rocks and stuff that are caving in, they have more room to fall. And then we're going to switch drilling fluids. Today we were drilling with air and some foam. We're going to switch over to a bentonite mud. We're going to pump that mud down the hole. That mud's going to stabilize it, and we'll break up those rocks a little bit more and bring them to the surface, dump them out. And the weight of the mud will help hold those rocks back, and it'll help us clear the hole, get everything to the surface. In theory, that should take a day, but the only thing that can really screw us up here is if when we go to switch the mud, we need water to make the mud and stabilize the hole. So hopefully we can do it with 1 or 2 tankers, because there's no hydrants or any place like that to get water. That's the negative. That's why we're trying to get the casing to go. Didn't work.